and whenever you're both ready.
Cool. Okay. Did you want me to just talk for a bit and then Chloe talk for a bit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, just to introduce myself, I'm John Hasty. I am actually the CEO of Pathfinders, but I'm also here today just as somebody who employs BAs, just to tell you a bit about my story and my perspective, really, as a way of kind of giving you a better awareness of neuromuscular conditions. But just noticed that we don't have the speaker spotlighted, so I'm just going to spotlight myself so that we can record it better. Are we
Oh,
recording? We are.
yeah. Apologies, that was my fault. I'll cut
That's
out
right.
that first bit. On my screen, you're large, so I thought that you were large for everyone.
No, no, so I've done that now. So I'm going to just say again. So my name's John Hasty. I've been employing PAs in one form or another really since I was 18. So that was, well, quite a long time ago now, like almost 20 years. So, yeah, just going to kind of talk about my experience as somebody who uses ventilation and how that can affect people like caring for me and PAs and stuff. So, I've got Duchenne muscular dystrophy. That's a progressive muscle weakening condition. So it kind of starts by affecting like your ability to walk and then your kind of upper limb muscles and your kind of arm strength. And towards the later stages, it starts to affect your breathing ability because it weakens your diaphragm and kind of the muscles involved in breathing. Um, so I haven't always used the ventilator. When I was 18, I didn't use one at all. God, I think my care was quite simple, really. I just needed help transferring in and out of bed, like getting dressed, getting washed, helping me to use the toilet, that kind of thing. So not too much. Kind of just gradually my needs have increased. When I was at university in my early 20s, I started using a ventilator overnight. It was quite scary to get used to. I remember that being quite scared at the hospital when I first tried on the full face mask that went over my nose and mouth. It felt very claustrophobic. Because you got this machine trying to pump air into you. Cause, at that time, I didn't really feel like I particularly needed it. But my sleep was quite disrupted. And my breathing stats weren't good. So, yeah, that's when I started using it. And I think when I was about 30, 31, I started using it during the daytime as well. Um, it wasn't a sudden change. It can be that for some people, they may get ill and then go on the ventilator, can never come off it. But for me, it was kind of like we were doing it before it became a crisis. So I gradually increased the amount that I was using the ventilator. That was quite good for PAs as it gave them time to get used to it, as well as giving me time as well. Um, so it was quite frustrating to begin with. Things like, getting the like mask that fits and like getting leaks when it's not fitting properly. Also, when you're moving from just wearing it overnight to during the daytime, like overnight, you could sometimes put up with a uncomfortable mask because you take it off during the daytime. But when you have ventilation all the time, like anything that's uncomfortable is something you've got to live with forever. So, like, it becomes more of an issue to try and get it comfortable for you. Um, I think like when I just needed it overnight, it was fairly straightforward to teach BAs. Like it was about just getting the mask comfortable on my face, it wasn't too bad. And like I could still probably just about take it off myself if I needed to. So if there was an emergency or the ventilator stopped working, like I wouldn't be in massive trouble really. They probably mean that I wouldn't sleep that night. That would be all. Whereas, these days if I'm not on the ventilator for more than 30 seconds, I'll start to struggle and probably suffocate within a few minutes. So it was quite a big change for me. Um, and I think we were just figuring out how to work the routine around it. I didn't, for example, I used to take the ventilator off to eat to begin with, so we didn't need to get used to that. But then when I eventually started using it all the time, I had to like relearn how to eat and like adapt my routine for that. For the BAs, it was quite easy. Like to begin with, when I was using it, my mum was still involved in my care. And she would teach people how to use it. These days, my BAs can teach other BAs. So somebody who's learned it can teach others. And to begin with, I had one person who was helping me solve problems and figure things out, and then we would teach it to the other BAs once we knew. In terms of how it affects my care, um, I mean, I guess, you know, when people just see a ventilator user and they don't know much about ventilation, they might be surprised that, you can live in your home normally and your care doesn't need to be really intensive. So, some people might think, oh, well, this should be done in a hospital setting by trained nurses, but like, actually, it's not really that complicated. The most complicated things is just getting the mask comfortable, which is just about observing somebody and moving the position of the mask. The actual operation of the machine is very simple, so it'd be a complete waste of a nurse's time on a hospital bed for me to be in the hospital, particularly as I'm usually very healthy. So, it just wouldn't make any sense for me to be in a hospital setting. I think it kind of becomes more like a wheelchair, really. It's just another tool that helps you to manage your needs. Like, yeah, there are more risks when you're on a ventilator, but there's risks with everything. You can accidentally knock the joystick of the wheel or the wheelchair, can send somebody off a step or like, injure them quite badly. I've heard of it happening. So it's kind of like, yeah, there are risks, but there's risks with everything. I still say I would say I have a very good quality of life even with the ventilator. In terms of like how the care is actually provided, when I first started using the ventilator, I just had one-to-one care. Um, there are some risks involved with just having one person, like when you're hoisting and you've got to keep an eye out for the ventilator tube uh, while you're transferring. Um, but, if you take the time, if you everyone knows what they're doing and you communicate with each other, it can be done. But really, as my needs have increased, I've got two-to-one care. So it does definitely make it easier with things like transfers, because one person can keep an eye on the ventilator, make sure it doesn't get stuck on anything, and the other person can focus on moving me. Um, I think generally when you're doing the care, you just need to be quite aware of the situation. Like, you need to risk assess, even though we don't like, it's not like I get a formal risk assessment checklist for everything I do. Like, often it's just a case of being aware of hazards, making sure you've got the spare equipment that you need, but seeing if a tube might be pulling or getting stuck on something, being aware of that. There are some things I need to do differently, like when I shower, I have a long tube called the ventilator, which connects to the ventilator, which is at the other end of the wet room. That can just shower. I use a mouthpiece ventilator for the showering, as I do with things like having a haircut, stuff like that. Um, in terms of eating, um, I think you've got to learn a special kind of feeding technique. That's what I find with my PAs. A certain kind of angle of like the spoon or fork that you need to get, just to kind of go in properly. It's you got to get around the mask basically and underneath it, which can be a bit of a like an issue, but it just takes some getting used to. Um, I have a bit more difficulty speaking sometimes. It depends. Like if I'm wearing a full face mask, I kind of often pause when the ventilator breathes. Just being aware of that kind of thing. Um, and in terms of like social settings and being in public and that kind of thing, I found it quite difficult to begin with. But I started with the ventilator, having the confidence to be seen in public with it. It does take a bit of kind of getting used to. I think I kind of figured out rather than, I was abnormal with like an issue. I was trying to think like I was like trailblazing for other people that needed ventilators and like by being seen out and about and I'm making it like more normal to be seen with a ventilator. So I tried to focus on that. And focus on the positives, and what the people with you actually care about. Like most of the time, the people you're with would rather you're comfortable, that you've got energy, content, that you're healthy, rather than whether you've got a mask on your face or not. They don't really care. Um, Although I did kind of use mouthpiece ventilation for quite a while to begin with because you didn't have a mask on your face, so I felt less self-conscious with it. So there are other things that you can do. In terms of the PAs, when I'm out of the mask, the PA just needs to be aware of what's going on really, and just has to communicate with me. Um, like it's very easy to get complacent sometimes. So my ventilator that I use at the moment, we need to change the battery, and it's quite a routine procedure. So my PA's kind of got used to it, but there was one time where the battery was changed and then the ventilator failed. But the VA didn't realise because they didn't ask me if I was okay. And yeah, it took a few minutes for them to realise that I wasn't actually breathing, and that was a bit scary. So you do need to be very attentive and aware of what's kind of going on. But I think like it's very scary to begin with, but people do relax. Sometimes they relax too much and become complacent. So you kind of got to balance, got to get the balance between somebody who can take something seriously, but isn't overwhelmed by it at the same time. Um, it can often take time for a PA to get good with a ventilator, just because they're so scared at the beginning. It can be a hurdle that they got to overcome. Um, but I think for some people, it's not really the right kind of like job for them to support someone on a ventilator if they do get really overwhelmed and worried. So, like, I do try to do what I can to reassure, but sometimes I think people don't necessarily need that stress. Um, the only other thing I'd say just to finish off is one of the pitfalls for me, one of the common mistakes I make is that because it all seems so normal and natural to me these days, I, I often make assumptions about what people know or what they can figure out, and I think I could easily forget that I need to actually tell people in detail and really go through what they need to do. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. And before Chloe uh, speaks, I just point out Chloe joined for quite a while after I'd been off full time. ventilation, so it wouldn't be the same as somebody who kind of was there right at the beginning. But I think Chloe will be able to share a lot of kind of experience about how to, come in and work a job where it's already established kind of practice. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
It's over to me. Just
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. Do you want to kick off?
Okay, so when I first came in, I had zero experience. It, it made me nervous. Yeah, I was really worried. I remember at first, like when I come in changed from mouthpiece to nose mask, and I was shaking, like literally shaking. I didn't really know what to expect. I'm always up for a challenge, but John sort of speaks through everything, and I think that's really helpful because without that, I would have been absolutely clueless. Um, but yeah, super nervous, super anxious, but I think the reassurance from John, reassurance from other PIAs as well, I think is very helpful. And just being told like, oh, you're getting on well, you're doing this right is very important in this kind of job. Um, I yeah, like over time, obviously I have become quite confident. But that is just getting used to it. That's practicing. I don't know, it's just sort of having faith in yourself and having that reassurance that, okay, it's a really important job to make sure, obviously, John is breathing, but like, John's used to it. So you've just got to sort of, I don't know, sort of relax a little bit. But John makes people feel quite relaxed, which is very handy. Um, with training, I find training, I'm very hands-on training, whereas a lot of people will watch and learn. So I struggled at first because watching someone else do something didn't necessarily help me learn. But I know that that helps a lot of other people. But getting stuck in and actually, I don't know, just going for it really helped me learn. And yeah, that's just sort of how confidence grows, I think. And just sort of having feedback on like, oh, maybe you should do this better, or you did really well when you did this is very handy to sort of know where you're going wrong and yeah, to obviously build confidence and make you relax a lot more. Um, so the routine part of things, I think, is just better to have a routine because they are then things that you're doing every day. John will get up and he'll do certain things each day. When he goes to sleep, he'll do certain things. Not necessarily, I can't always remember the order, but yeah, knowing the routine and what is needed in each um, part of the day and it being the same is very handy to sort of the repetitive behaviors are easier to learn. Um, yeah, I don't really know what else to say.
I got a few things I wanted to ask you actually. So, first of all, I was just wondering, like, what you think about emergencies, like in terms of, are you thinking in your head about like what could go wrong and what you could do, or is that's something that's more on me to say?
I think it's subconscious. Um, like for example, when you have choked on food in the past, it's I feel like it's a joint effort for us to both notice, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, like so a subconscious. I don't even realize I'm doing it, I think. But yeah, like I'll notice, hold on, this doesn't seem right, and then I'll act upon it. So yeah, I don't actually think I'm actively thinking out loud, if that makes sense. But yeah, in the back of my mind, I am constantly like, oh, okay, like when we're out, is there a car coming? Let me make sure that you can get across the road safe. Let me make sure that the ventilator's still plugged in, like little things like that. I think it's just becomes second nature, I think after a while.
Yeah, I think you're very like perceptive, for example, when the mask is leaking. That's that's not something that every PA does, but it's like it's a good quality. And that I know you're gonna like listening out for anything that might be different or out of the ordinary, really.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely do that. Um, but yeah, you are right. I think you need someone that is attentive in that sense, because
Yeah,
otherwise it's not great for you, John.
yeah,
Um, yeah, definitely. I think it is subconscious for me, but
yeah,
maybe other PAs should be aware,
yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. But do you feel like you know everything you need to know about the ventilator, or are there any areas where you think, God, maybe I should know more about this?
I think so. I think I'm quite confident in it, but I think that's working quite close with you to like change settings and things like that. I
Yeah,
don't think you do that with all PAs.
yeah, true,
So
true.
yeah, I would say I'm confident, but maybe another PA wouldn't be because they're not doing those things with you.
Yeah. So it's kind of important to be involved in everything, really.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But I know we did recently some like official kind of nurse delivered training. Like,
hmm
did you find that helpful? Like, what was the best kind of training that you've had, really?
I, if I'm honest, I didn't find that helpful at all. I find I do find like learning the individual needs of you much better than learning. So it's official training, and that's great in everyday today life, I guess. But that didn't help me with you because your needs are very different to people every day to day, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think just getting those experiences with you and then learning from it's almost like I learn from the experiences I have with you.
yeah, yeah. 'Cause there was one thing that you said around liking to get stuck in for a trade point with a lot of BAs. I think for me, the challenge is I'm quite nervous to let somebody like to just stop like getting stuck in. Um, so yeah, I'm just wondering from your perspective as a BA, like how you can support an employer, maybe like not me, maybe another employer who's like newer to ventilation. Like how could you make them feel a bit more reassured as well?
I don't know if I do make you feel reassured. I hope I do.
I think
Um,
so.
it's you have to, so you're being nervous is 100%, I think, a good thing. If a
Yeah,
PA is nervous, that means they're taking it seriously, and you want that. Um, but I think it's how a PA deals with the nerves. So if I came in, I got really nervous and completely froze, you don't want that really.
yeah. Mm,
Because obviously if there's an emergency or what have you, like that is going to end badly, essentially. You need someone that's nervous, taking it seriously, but that can overcome it.
yeah,
I think when training PAs, having a more experienced PA there will reassure the new PA as
yeah,
well. Um, Even just for training, it's just having that reassurance that, okay, there's someone here that knows what they're doing.
yeah,
Because that was always the first time I was ever left on my own with you. I was panicking.
yeah,
But now, obviously, I'm absolutely fine. Um, I do think having just that reassurance or like you just expressing that we're doing a good job, I found really helpful.
yeah. Mm,
Um, because it's just giving you confidence. And then once you've got the confidence, you do sort of settle down a little bit.
yeah. Cool. Thank you.
John, shall I stop the recording now?
Yeah.
fabulous. Thank you very much. Where's it gone? There it is.